Take a slow breath in
Hi, mind the path.
and slowly
thank you.
breathe out. Allow your eyes to rest. Let your shoulders relax. And let your mind drift gently backward in time
Go! I'm winning!
to medieval England, a world that moved slowly,
I see your strategy.
quietly, patiently. In medieval times, life was hard. Days were long, work was tiring, and entertainment was very simple. There were no screens, no music players,
The fire's
no
warm tonight.
books for most
It is,
people,
and the company
no
is
fast
Can we stay a bit
excitement.
longer?
So when people wanted fun, they found it in strange, quiet, and sometimes very unusual ways. Tonight, we will gently explore those forgotten hobbies. Not loudly, not quickly, just calmly, slowly, and peacefully. Let us begin. In medieval villages, one of the most common hobbies was watching. Nothing. People would sit outside their homes, on wooden stools or on the ground, and simply watch the road. They watched carts pass by. They watched travelers walk slowly through town. They watched animals move from field to field. This was not considered boring. It was relaxing. Time moved differently then. Moments were not rushed. Watching the world was entertainment. Sometimes villagers would guess where a traveler came from. Sometimes they would quietly imagine stories. Often they said nothing at all. Silence was normal. Another strange medieval hobby was listening very carefully to church bells. Church bells rang many times a day. They marked prayer times. They marked meals. They marked danger. People would sit quietly, counting the bells, noticing their rhythm, and discussing their tone. Some believed bells carried spiritual power. Others believed different bells sounded different on different days. Listening to bells was calming, predictable, comforting. It gave structure to the day. Children in medieval times had hobbies too, but their games were simple. One popular game was rolling hoops made of wood. Children would push them with sticks, slowly, down dusty roads. The goal was not speed. The goal was control. They also played with stones, arranging them in patterns, stacking them carefully, seeing how long they would stay upright. This taught patience, and patience was valued. Adults also enjoyed games, very slow games. One common pastime was board games like Nine Men's Morris. It involved placing stones, one by one, on carved wooden boards. Games could last hours, sometimes all day. People spoke softly while playing. Long pauses were normal. Thinking was more important than winning. Winning was nice, but the real pleasure was passing time peacefully. In towns, people enjoyed public punishments as entertainment. This may sound strange, but it was common. People gathered quietly in town squares. They observed wrongdoers placed in stocks. They observed, without shouting, without excitement. It was considered a lesson and a shared moment. But even this was slow, very slow. Nothing happened quickly. Another medieval hobby was storytelling, but not the way we imagine today. Stories were repeated again and again. The same stories, the same words, the same endings. People liked familiarity. They listened not to be surprised, but to feel comfort. Stories were told by firelight, soft voices, slow pacing. Sometimes people fell asleep before the story ended, and that was perfectly fine. Medieval people also enjoyed watching animals. They watched cats hunt, dogs sleep, horses eat. They noticed patterns, times, habits. Some believed animals carried messages from God. Others simply found peace in watching them move. Observation was entertainment. In castles, nobles had hobbies too, very quiet ones. They enjoyed embroidery, stitch by stitch, hour by hour. They carved small objects from wood or bone, simple shapes, repeating patterns. They polished armor, even when it was already clean. Repetition was calming. Another strange hobby was walking, with no destination. People walked slowly along paths, around fields, beside rivers. They walked to think, to pray, or to simply pass time. Walking was not exercise, it was reflection. Music existed, but it was rare. When it was played, people listened quietly. No clapping, no cheering, just listening. Sometimes a single instrument played for hours, the same melody, again and again. As night approached, hobbies became even calmer. People sat by the fire, staring into flames, watching sparks rise. This was considered meaningful. The fire was alive, changing, gentle. Many fell asleep this way. Life in medieval times was slow, very slow, and fun was quiet, not exciting, not loud, just steady. As your breathing becomes deeper and your thoughts begin to drift, remember, you are safe, you are resting, and history is moving slowly around you. In Part 2, we will continue exploring even stranger medieval hobbies, including festivals, odd competitions, and peaceful pastimes that may seem unbelievable today. But for now, rest. Let your mind soften and drift gently toward sleep. As the night grows quieter and your breathing becomes slow and steady, let us continue our calm journey into medieval times. There is no rush, no need to focus closely. You can simply listen or not listen at all. In medieval villages, people sometimes gathered, not to celebrate, but simply to sit together. This was considered a hobby. They sat on benches, on low stone walls, on the ground. They did not speak much. They watched the sky. They watched clouds move, slowly, changing shape. Some pointed out clouds that looked like animals. Others just watched quietly. There was no goal, only passing time. One very strange medieval pastime was watching water. People sat near rivers, streams, or wells and watched water move. They noticed ripples, reflections, the sound it made as it touched stone. Some believed water could calm the soul. Others believed it carried memories. Either way, it was peaceful. In some towns, people enjoyed counting things. They counted steps between buildings, They counted fence posts. They counted roof tiles. This helped them feel order in a world that was often uncertain. Counting was calming, predictable, reassuring. Another quiet hobby was listening to wind. People stood outside, especially in the evening, and listened. Wind through trees, wind against walls, wind moving grass. They believed wind carried messages, or prayers, or signs. Listening required patience, and patience was respected. Medieval festivals did exist, but they were slower than modern ones. Some involved simple walking processions. People moved slowly through streets, holding candles, singing softly. Others involved standing for long periods, watching events unfold, one small moment at a time. There were games, but even games were slow. One game involved gently tossing small stones at a target. Another involved pushing objects with sticks, carefully, without speed. Winning did not matter much. Being present did. In castles, nobles enjoyed strange indoor pastimes. One involved memorizing long lists, family names, land boundaries, religious verses. They repeated them quietly, again and again. This was considered useful and calming. Some people enjoyed sitting in churches, even when no service was happening. They sat in silence, listening to echoes, watching light move across stone walls. Churches were cool, quiet, safe. Many people fell asleep there. No one minded. A very unusual medieval hobby was watching shadows. People watched how shadows moved during the day, how they changed shape, how they grew longer in the evening. Shadows were believed to reveal time and truth. Watching them required stillness. Another pastime involved touching textures. People ran their hands over stone walls, wooden tables, wool clothing. They noticed how things felt. This grounded them in the moment. As night arrived, families gathered indoors. They did not always talk. Sometimes they just sat. One person stirred a pot. Another repaired clothing. Someone else stared into the fire. This was entertainment, quiet togetherness. There were also very gentle competitions. Who could stay still the longest? Who could remain silent the longest? Children tried not to move. Adults smiled softly. Stillness was admired. As the candles burned lower and the fire grew smaller, the day slowly ended. People did not fight sleep. They welcomed it. They lay down. They rested. Tomorrow would be similar, and that was comforting. Medieval life was not exciting, but it was steady. Strange hobbies filled the time, not with noise, but with calm. And now, as your breathing slows and your thoughts soften, you may imagine yourself sitting quietly somewhere long ago, watching a road, listening to wind, or counting distant church bells. There is nothing you need to do, nothing to remember. Just rest. History will continue, slowly, quietly, without needing your attention. Good night.